Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember, to support our channel, please subscribe. The Secret Pregnancy and Forbidden Marriage of Elizabeth I. Now, Elizabeth I is considered one of the greatest queens and monarchs that England has ever had. She was the final ruler of the Tudor dynasty for the fact she had no heir, and following her death in 1603, James I, the King of Scotland, was invited to take the throne of England also. Elizabeth I was the queen who defeated the Spanish Armada and also tried very hard to solve problems with religion in her nation. Many people were executed, and she even sentenced to death Mary Queen of Scots. But one of the most secretive and mysterious elements of Elizabeth's life revolves around her relationships. Throughout the centuries, a number of historians have investigated claims that Elizabeth I actually was pregnant during her reign, casting doubt on her reputation as the Virgin Queen. Some have also claimed that she married and did give birth. It's known that the man who came closest to marrying the Queen was Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, and there was significant rumour around him, some positive and some negative. It was said in the November of 1560 that Queen Elizabeth I may have looked pregnant, and one ambassador did write that allegedly she was expecting a child with Robert Dudley. In early 1561, it was said that Elizabeth was stuck in bed with a mysterious illness that caused her body to swell up, and there was rumours around court that claimed that there had been a secret betrothal between the Queen and Robert Dudley. On the 31st of December 1560, the English ambassador in Paris wrote to William Cecil, Elizabeth's adviser, asking what to do if Her Majesty do so foully forget herself in her marriage, as the bruit runneth here. But there was others that debated that the Queen was not in fact married. Letters also reached the Queen and Dudley, asking them to address the rumours of marriage, but Cecil responded saying that, "I advise you not to meddle with the matters of this court, otherwise than ye may be well advised from hence. What Her Majesty will determine to do only God, I think, knoweth, and in her his will be fulfilled. Writings remain, and, coming into adverse hands, may be sinisterly interpreted. Servants and messengers may be reported to whom they list, and therefore I cannot give you so plain a counsel as I wish. But in one word I say, contend not where victory cannot be had." Cecil with this did not completely shoot down the rumours and state that they were untrue, but the debate continued around the pair. It was reported to King Philip of Spain by an ambassador who stated that he had been told by Robert Dudley's sister that the rumour of marriage was spreading to everyone at court. The ambassador stated that if she marry Lord Robert without His Majesty's sanction, she will do nothing in public, and it may be when she sees she has nothing to hope from your Majesty, she will make a worse plunge to satisfy her appetite. She is infatuated to a degree which would be a notable fault in any woman, much more in one of her exalted rank. Further rumours regarding the Queen continued, and there was even talk that Francis Bacon, a son born to Nicholas and Lady Anne Bacon, was actually the Queen's, and that the Bacons had adopted him. One day Francis was born, the Queen was at York Place, and she had no engagements that day and was kept in quiet. But further courtiers commented on Robert Dudley and Elizabeth I, as Sir Robert Sidney, Dudley's brother-in-law, said, "The Queen and Lord Robert were lovers, but they intended honest marriage. The bishop has spoke to regarding this replied with, 'Some say she is a mother already, but I do not believe this. What is known for certain, though, is that following the death of the Earl of Leicester's wife, Elizabeth and Dudley became closer, and it was reported at the time that she may have been betrothed of him. Further rumours alleged that she may have married him in Lord Pembroke's house at Barnard Castle. However, interesting during the Victorian times, there was a rather strange discovery found that was presented to Queen Victoria. An anecdote recorded in 1895 stated, When Queen Victoria was staying at Wilton House, the Earl of Pembroke told her that in the monument room was a document which formed written evidence that in 1560 Elizabeth I married the Earl of Leicester. The marriage was performed in secret with an oath of absolute secrecy. At the time the marriage the Queen was pregnant by Lord Leicester. The French and Spanish ambassador reported this and the death of Amy Robsart to the courts. They also told the Queen that if this was confirmed by her marriage to Leicester, France and Spain would jointly invade England to remove the Protestant Queen and replace her by a Catholic monarch. Queen Victoria demanded that this document should be produced, and she had examined it. She put it on the fire, saying, "One must not interfere with history." With this is interesting to consider that Queen Victoria could have interfered with the rightful story of Elizabeth I's reign, and has hidden history from the modern world. At the time, William Cecil did attract criticism and was accused of telling the King of Spain that Elizabeth had married Dudley. It was said that he stuck up for himself, saying, "I wrote what I said to the Queen herself, that it was reported all over London that their marriage had taken place. She betrayed neither surprise nor displeasure at my words. Had I so pleased, I might have written all this to His Majesty, nor do I think I should have done wrong had I told him the world's belief that she was married already." What cannot be disputed, though, is that in October of 1562 the Queen became very ill with the deadly disease of smallpox. With this, many believed she could die from the disease, and she asked the Privy Council to make Robert Dudley her rumoured husband and lover, the protector of the realm, and to give him a huge title and amount of wealth. But the Queen did recover, and it was not needed to carry this out. But then in 1563 the Queen gave him Kenilworth Castle and the surrounding manor and park, which he made into a huge and colossal beautiful fortress and house, where he entertained Elizabeth regularly. Elizabeth spent many days here compared to other castles, and she was greatly fond of Kenilworth. But despite these rumours being prominent at court, they were never proven, and no evidence has ever been found pointing towards a marriage between Elizabeth I and Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester. We know she was greatly fond of Dudley, and many believe that the pair were lovers, but ultimately the legacy of Elizabeth I is that she claimed she was married to her kingdom and her country. Ultimately, when Elizabeth died in 1603, she died without an heir and successor, and quickly arrangements were made. But with this, the Tudor dynasty died out, just around 120 years since it began, with her grandfather's victory on the Battle of Bosworth Field. The question of marriage would have helped Elizabeth secure the Tudor dynasty on the throne for centuries to come. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.